Sorry about my English, but neurodevelopment disorder risk and phenotypic factors. Okay, genetic and physical uh, prenatal, including genetic syndrome, variation or copy number variation involving one or another genes, hormones, something, inborn errors of metabolism, brain uh, malforms, disorder, including environmental influence like alcohol or drug toxic uh, through genes. Causes included variety of labor and delivery related events leading to nano, neonatal, mental, something like that. Postnal causes including hypox, ischemic injuries, traumatic brain injuries, infection disorder, the melishing disorder, yes, blah 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 blah, in infantile spams, severe and chronic social deprivation and toxic metabolic syndromes and intoxications lead to mercury. Culture related to diagnostic issues, intellectual development disorder across uh, heterogal group, prevalence difference across social and culturally context may be due to variation in environmental risk, e.g., perinatal injuries, chronic social depression or something, deprivation for the disorder that are associated with sociomatic status and across to quality health care. For example, in Western Australia, the population prevalence of intellectual development disorder among um, aboriginal children is 39 per 1,000 people, as opposed to 16 per 1,000 for the more influent non uh, aboriginal youth population. Cultural sensitivity and knowledge of social structural condition are needed during assessment, and the individuals so syndromic, ethic, cultural, and linguistic background available expresses and adaptive functioning within his or her community, and culturally setting must be considered cultural explanation for intellectual development disorder vary and may include cultural beliefs about supernatural influence and punishment for presumed or actual wrongdoing by the mother or the parents, which can be associated with shame and underporting of the disorder. Sex and gender related diagnostic issue. Overall, males are more likely than females to be diagnosed with both mild average male female ratio 1.6.1 and severe average male female ratio 1.2.1. It's less for forms of interactional developmental disorder, who, however, sex ratio vary widely in reported studios. Sexually linked genetic factors, sex difference in other genetic factors such as specific copy number, variants, and male vulnerability to brain insults may count for some of the sex difference. Association with suicidal thought or behavior. Individual with intellectual development disorder can be at risk for suicide as excoited something with combined mental disorder, higher intellectual and adaptive functioning, and immediate past stressors. Combined mental disorder may manifest atypical in intellectual development disorder. Those recognition, combined and screening for suicidal thought is important in the assessment process, with particular attention to change in behavior of the individual. The strong only survive, my friend, because it's like different diagnosis for disorder, but you know, the diagnosis of the intellectual development disorder should to made whenever criteria A to B and C are met, and diagnosis of intellectual development disorder should not be assumed because of particular genetic or medical condition, and genetic syndrome linked to intellectual development disorder should be noted as concerts diagnosis with the intellectual development disorder. Major and mid neurocognitive disorder. Intellectual developmental disorder is categorized as neurodevelopmental disorder and is distinct from the neuro disorder, which are characterized by a loss of cognitive function in major neurogative disorder may be co-occur with intellectual developmental disorder, e.g. an individual with Down syndrome who developmental Alzheimer's disease, or an individual with the intellectual developmental disorder who lost further cognitive capacity following a head injury. In such cases, the diagnosis of intellectual developmental disorder and neurocognitive disorder may both be given. Moreover, when they're stabilized of cognitive functioning following traumatic or non-traumatic brain injuries with honest in the developmental period, childhood and adolescence, and this is no continued cognitive decline. Both neurocognitive disorder and intellectual development disorder diagnosis can be used if diagnostic criteria are met for intellectual development disorder.